You cannot be healthy if you don't cook for yourself. You simply
Ah,
cannot.
interesting.
Yeah.
I will tell you what. I have all these services like Grubhub in New York. I don't ever use that stuff. You don't know where your food is. You don't know what they're putting in it. Today we have a fascinating guest, Lynne Bowman. She's written several cookbooks. She actually cooked her way out of type 2 diabetes. So you're going to find this absolutely fascinating. Eat yourself young. Hi, everybody. This is Diane Gilman, formerly known as the Queen of Jeans on QVC and HSN. But today, the proud host of Too Young to Be Old. And speaking of, we're talking about having brownies for breakfast. Doesn't that sound good? But it sounds naughty too. Lynne has written 4 cookbooks. It's all about taking sugar out of your diet and living longer. So, talk to me briefly about how you came to write these cookbooks and your battle and victory with sugar.
They weren't all cookbooks, by the way, but it seemed like food always crept in. It was huge in my life. I knew in my 40s that I was diabetic, type 2 diabetic. I'm only behind you slightly. I will have my 80th birthday in March. You know, there's something that happens to your
Congrats. Yeah.
right? It's like,
At
whoo,
80, it definitely does. And you start to realize that the time you've got is precious and that food is your fuel,
yeah.
and stop messing around and get it right.
Food should always also be your joy, I think. And
Ha! Yeah.
I'm tired of hearing people talk about all of this sort of restrictive and negative and fasting and everything. And Granny here is here to tell you that the more wonderful your food is, the healthier you're going to be. It's just, let's kind of look at what we mean by wonderful. And of course, we can start with brownies. Okay. In my case, my brownie recipe is nut butter, a lot of it, and pumpkin, a whole can.
Oh, I use pumpkin I make pumpkin pancakes and they are delicious.
I have a
Yeah.
better recipe, I'll bet, than you're using, because I don't eat wheat flour, I don't eat potatoes and so on, because diabetic.
You look fantastic for 79, and you can't look good at this age unless you feel good. You say brownies for breakfast. Why brownies? Why breakfast?
A couple of reasons. Who doesn't love brownies? Hello. And people don't normally think of them as a healthy way to start the day.
No, never.
Right.
Right.
So, why is this woman writing a book about eating for diabetes and she's leading off with brownies? It's because I want you to have wonderful food. I want you to love your food. I want you to sit down and go, yay, I'm so lucky I get to eat this stuff. It's all a matter of knowing what to do. And it's not, I mean, there are a lot of other people talking about the fact that it should be whole food, real food,
Yeah.
mostly plants. You know, this is not genius. This is granny stuff. And eat what your great grandmother ate. You know,
I
real.
find all the time when I look, and I prepare stuff constantly. I prefer that. I want to enjoy what I eat. I mean, it's an event.
Yes,
Eating, having a meal, especially if you can home cook it,
yes.
and you're a lousy cook like me, so you go for simple. But I find that so much of my viewpoint of diet has changed. I'm definitely gluten intolerant for sure. It makes a big
Not
difference.
missing a thing.
So I turned around and found all the products I could, like to make pancakes in the morning, pumpkin pancakes. They had no gluten in them. And so I find when I'm assembling all the things that are going into a recipe, almost nothing in that recipe is truly traditional, but I'm not sacrificing taste or texture. That's the important part to me.
Well, there are a couple things that I want to introduce you to if you don't know about them. And I'm going to talk about it because I find an astonishing number of people don't know about allulose.
No.
Terrible name. Terrible name. As a former recovering marketing person, it's like, God, they need a new name for that. I have a friend who is manufacturing it, and it's called Jocka sugar when he manufactures it, but it's allulose, which is a food product. It's got one ingredient in it, which is allulose. It's called a rare sugar. It does not upset your stomach. It has no calories whatsoever. I mean, virtually none. It browns and caramelizes like real sugar. Get it today. You can eat as much of it as you want. And that's what sweetens my brownies and my pancakes if need be. And
Yeah.
I use it for everything. I make a killer apple pie. I live on a little farm and we have apples and pears and so on.
Oh, nice.
So you can eat beautifully and indulgently if you just know how.
I say, Lynn, that after a certain age, you have to see you as a project. And your goal within this project is to keep you like a vintage car, running perfectly, well tuned, in shape, ready to hit the road. And
Bugatti just sitting in the garage, ready to go out.
Bugatti, yeah, I would love that.
Yeah.
But I'll take a 1960 Aqua Blue Thunderbird. That's good too. I'll do that. I find that I had to make it fun. I was going to take it with all seriousness. Oh, this is very important to do. But at the same time, I was going to use all the learning mechanisms I have. Like now I know about allulose, and I'm going to go try and find it the minute I get off this podcast. I made it into a project and a game, and I made it fun. And that's what I would say to anybody out there, that once you enter, I think your 70s, you are in the age of reinvention, as you say, Lynn, and you're also honestly in control. You cannot give up the reins on diet. I have friends that will just argue with me. Okay, well, I understand you love sweet cocktails, but it doesn't mean it's a good choice or it's good for you. But people will try constantly to justify. You come to a certain age, for me, that was honestly 80. Throw all the justification out the window. Now we're into serious territory. Yeah.
Well, and we have the receipts, we have the research. There's no arguing with the fact that alcohol consumption at any level damages your body, your brain. And when you're 30, you can say to yourself, well, that's okay, I can stand a little damage. But when you're 75 or 80, no, you can't stand any more damage. So you got to get real about some stuff. You're already waking up going, wait, where am I?
Yeah. And the truth is, actually, I'm pretty lucky. I never loved alcohol, but I would honestly say that you've got two choices: live to eat or eat to live. And there was just a switch mechanism that went off of me at 80. Should have gone off at about 60. Well, and it sort of did, but I was in airplanes constantly, living in hotel rooms.
Yeah, no.
Not a lot of choices to
Yeah,
customize my
I will
food.
say that for me, 50 was a big turning point. I was 50 years old when I had all of my hormones removed from my body, right? It's like, okay, that's done. They're gone. And I moved to the country at the same time and was growing food. And so my life was suddenly directed in a different way.
Uh-huh.
A lot of the same principles were there, but 50, and I like to talk about the fact that for me, and they always, the magazine covers, do this, do that. So at 30, 40, 50, like at 50, things just sort of go off the cliff somehow.
Yeah.
It was so freeing for me. And I think it's freeing for a lot of women, if you think about it, to not have your ovaries dictating your life anymore every moment. You don't realize how much of what you do and say and think and accomplish is related to your girl parts. And I'm grateful for them. I have 3 kids. I have 3 grandchildren. I wouldn't change it for the world. But 50 found me suddenly free of all that. So my brain kind of was going, oh, I can do some other things.
You know, I had to give up anything that suggested the production of or contained estrogen at the age of 72 when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. At 50, you had a similar experience and dictate. How did that change your diet? How did that change the way you approached food? Like for me, I'm probably the only human being in America who actually liked tofu, right?
Well,
Right. I was a big fan of it.
there's nothing wrong
And
with eating soy. Soy does not affect your estrogen according to the latest research.
pardon me, but I will say, and it is one of the great confusions of life for females, we are probably about 25 years behind. So hospitals are very loath to say that. And actually, soy was one of the things I was cautioned away from eating. But the bottom line is, my concerns were I was on television. I led a very, what looked like on the surface, set life, but it's so unhealthy to be in airplanes all the time.
And let's leave
And
that for a minute, Diane, because
food, food
I,
had to be a big part of my life and
and
the
you
quality of my
cannot
skin and hair.
be healthy if you don't cook for yourself. You simply
Ah,
cannot.
interesting.
Yeah.
I will tell you what. I have all these services like Grubhub in New York. I don't ever use that stuff. You don't know where your food is. You don't know what they're putting in it. One thing I will say, and we're talking about diet and confusion. Doctor on Too Young to Be Old, and I mentioned gluten intolerance, and he said, it's in your mind. You couldn't possibly notice that not having gluten makes a difference. Oh my God, huge radar out there for this. I mean, I have real aches and pains in joints if I'm eating gluten. The minute I free myself from gluten,
And have you noticed, like a lot of people have, if you do eat flour that is not raised as the typical way that American flour, for example, if you go to Europe, there's so many friends who come back and go, yeah, it was great. I could eat bread. It was wonderful. Our flour is not like their flour.
yeah, it's super processed.
But also the way it's raised, the grain, the seeds, so on. And so locally here where I live, I can actually get einkorn flour that is different than the flour that irritates you.
When you make your morning brownies, is that what you put into your brownies?
Flour?
Einkorn flour?
No. I put cocoa, eggs, pumpkin, nut butter, cinnamon, bit of salt. That's pretty much it. No flour.
So, out of that, I know that cinnamon is anti inflammatory. The way that you are focused on sugar because of diabetes, because I have arthritis that runs in my family, and I do have, it's about my only sign of aging, truly. Slowing down a little bit, needing more sleep, but aches and pains in joints. So I go for anti-inflammatories. So
Sure.
cinnamon, anti-inflammatory. Cocoa, I
Turmeric.
use
Yeah.
right. I use turmeric. I use cocoa,
Yeah.
and those are not well advertised. But I think
I'm fond of
honestly,
saying
we
that
should have more choices. Yeah.
chocolate is health food.
Uh
Cocoa
huh.
is health food. You know, it's just
Yeah.
when you put sugar in it that it becomes poison.
Yeah, and mine has no sugar in it. I would honestly say, because I always say I'm my own favorite project, that if you are going to become dedicated and very deeply interested in your own health as you age, your self education is everything. And I never thought about, I mean, I was always working 24/7 every day of the week, every major holiday. That's what tele-retail is about. But when I started to have the time and the aches and pains that needed to get taken away, and modern medicine was just looking at me and taking an x-ray and saying, okay, we see it here, but we don't see it anywhere else, and it must be all in your mind. No, it's not all in my mind. I have enough control over my mind. I don't want my
But
mind to be causing pain.
Diane, you and I are old enough to have experienced this huge shift in the medical community. My daughters were surrounded by women when their babies were born. They were surrounded by women. The docs, the anesthesia, they were all women. I was surrounded by men. The only people doing medicine when you and I were younger were men. There was no
Yeah.
research. When that study came out, it said that soy was bad and estrogen. It was a terrible study, badly done. It was typical of the studies that were done by men, sort of about women, right? Which didn't include much in the way of women. And we're making this wonderful shift now that we have so many women in medicine, in research, who just weren't there.
I see a lot of shifts, and one of them is a belief in longevity and that you can do it. And I don't believe, for everything I've read, that it necessarily has to be a blue zone. You can create your own blue zone, but what you need to do
Cook.
is really cook and focus on your diet.
Yes.
And a friend of mine who's incredibly bright and has been the president of several companies. And I asked her the other day, she's in her 80s, she was crunching something. And I said, "What are you eating?" And she said, "My daily dose of Doritos." And I said, "Oh my God, you can't eat that. It's full of chemicals and poison." And people look at you when you say stuff like that, like you're insane. I would say the best thing I see moving forward, and it's easier for some reason for women to accept than men who always believe they're just going to barrel their way through everything, is the connection between food, the substance of the food, the contribution of the food to your body's well-being, and diet, and how that fuels your life. And it's amazing to me that most people take better care of their car with high octane premium gasoline than they do with the food they put in.
Are much more aware of what your Cocker Spaniel eats than what you eat. You're
Right,
much
yeah.
more careful about what the little guy, you're getting him raw food and putting it in the fridge and so on. So please pay that kind of attention to what you're doing. But
Yeah.
it's a couple more things. You've mentioned sleep, huge.
Huge. Yeah.
And it relates to how you eat. You can't sleep well if you don't eat well, and you cannot sleep well if you don't quit eating in enough time so that your body can go, "Oh, she's going to go to sleep." And
Yeah.
the processes, the autophagy that needs to take place in your brain happens, but you can't do that if you're munching on Doritos or anything else at 9, 10 o'clock at night. You can't, not in the evening.
One thing that I did, and it was natural, I gained 35 pounds of water weight from all the chemicals that combined to be chemotherapy.
Right.
And when I walked out of that, I thought, my God, I must be the only human on earth who actually gained weight during chemo. But now I had to get rid of it. And when I started to get rid of it, and it's in your body, it's not ready to flush itself out. You have to really work at getting it out. It took months and months and months. I came down to one meal a day. And so intermittent fasting became natural
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
And that is workable for me. And I think the problem constantly is everybody thinks they're an expert and they want to tell you you're doing it all wrong. But the real truth is, at our age, Lynn, our body doesn't lie to us. All you have to do is listen.
Okay, it never did, but we didn't care. And I'm also fond of saying, I don't want to take my longevity advice from a 35-year-old guy in a
Yeah.
t-shirt.
Yeah.
You want longevity advice? Talk to a grandma. Talk to somebody who's living it. But we've talked about sleep, we've talked about food, and we have to bring up one more because it's essential, and that is, of course, your movement, your exercise. And the thing that a lot of people, especially women our age, we don't get, we never had it, is strength training, weightlifting. And I will tell you that I recently had an aerobic gardening incident wherein I broke a femur. Right.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's very serious, as anyone who's been around someone who had that, whatever. That's your big bone. That's what carries your body around. The good news was that I got ambulance. I got right away into Kaiser surgery. And they said to me, the nurse, the surgeon said, "We don't see women in your kind of shape. You're going to be fine. You will be okay." Because we were always told, if in your 70s or 80s you break a pelvis or you break a femur,
It's
you're
the end of your life.
that's
Yeah.
it. And I'm here to tell you that I have not only survived, but it was quite an education. I learned a lot about bone healing and all that sort of thing. I had some.
That's very important. That is such a huge foundational piece
Yes.
of aging. I just see those foundational pieces as all brought together by lifestyle and that diet and how you revere your body by cooking for yourself and making the right choices. You know, the thing that I think that I have the most problem with is I have a diversity of people surrounding me from all different decades. So I don't
Good for
just live
you.
in an age don't live in an age ghetto where everybody is my age. And everybody wants to tell you, oh, you don't eat red meat anymore. No, it's impossible for me to digest. Hi, today we're talking about Particlar. This is a series of supplements. And let me tell you what, if you are aging with any sort of inflammation that becomes one of the biggest issues in your everyday life, and swelling and joint pain. Oh, I'm on it 100%. I've begun a new vitamin regime from Particlar that has literally changed my life. And I feel so much better on a daily basis. Try it out with a discount using our code below. You are going to love it. Oh, well, then you're just eating the wrong kind of red meat. No, not really. And no, I'm not vegan. So, this is what I say to the audience. This could be the freest time of your life.
Yes.
You don't need to listen to anybody else. And like Lynn said, and I second it totally, yeah, I usually have a 35-year-old telling me what to do, and they don't even have a clue what 80 feels like or what goes into keeping that vibrant and alive and healthy and questing knowledge. And so this can be your time. And you can make your choices. And honestly, start learning. I think that information, like what we gave out today, is the key to staying engaged. Brownies for breakfast.
Yeah, and it's
I
all
love it.
it's a short, it's 200 pages, mostly pictures. I took the pictures
I
with,
love, yeah,
and it's not complicated at all. It's simple. And I want to add to you what you said about red meat. It stops tasting good to you. You don't
yeah, it
crave it
did.
anymore.
Do you know what? I ordered, I hadn't eaten meat in a while, and I suddenly, when the weather gets cold, that first cold snap, I sort of have that comfort craving. So I ordered a really good quality ribeye steak, and the fat on it just turned me off. And I realized, wow, Diane, you've come really far down the road of
It's
not eating a lot of grease and not eating a
uphill.
lot of fried food. And yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
But sugar,
ladies,
sugar, same thing. If you will do as Granny here tells you and quit sugar, in 3 weeks, your saliva will have chemically changed and you will no longer crave sugar the way you have.
oh, I believe it.
Good to you.
Absolutely. I believe it. And I'm going out and looking for allulose the minute this podcast is done. So I want to thank you so much, Lynne Bowman, for giving us permission to have brownies at breakfast. Thank you so much. I learned a lot.
Let's do it again whenever you like.
All right. Thank you so much for listening to Too Young to Be Old podcast. The episode may be over, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at The Diane Gilman, or visit our website, thedianegilman.com. If you like the show, leave us a rating or a review and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And until then, Don't forget, age is just a number. Together, we'll prove that we are all too young to be old.